StudyIQ IAS, अब तैयारी हुई अफोर्डेबल।
Hello, Namaskar, Namaskara, Namaskaram, Namaskar. My name is Pooja Dwivedi. Welcome to my class, The Daily Current Affairs. Many of the students ask me, Ma'am, is this class only important for the prelims examination or mains examination as well? It is for both. First, I understand the kind of current affairs that could be asked in your examination. There is going to be a set of current affairs which is useless and a set of current affairs extremely important. I filter that out, formulate questions from the perspective of your prelims. After that, knowledge that has been given is for not only the prelims but also the mains examination. Whatever conceptual clarity that you may gather in this class will be applied to your mains examination as well. Just 30 minutes a day you have to devote. That is it. And do not at all worry about notes because I provide the notes on my Telegram channel that is by the name of Pooja Dwivedi UPSC. Keep in mind that we have a less time as compared to the earlier months. That is why we have to be very strict and disciplined with ourselves when it comes to these classes. These classes are going to be extremely significant for your upcoming examination. Also, if you have any queries regarding this examination, you can definitely talk to me on my Instagram as well. So these are the various events that we have to cover today. When it comes to the first event, I asked a question regarding it. The practice question. Many of you have answered it correctly. Let's first talk about the question. On which of the following days the world received its first view of Earth taken by a spacecraft from the vicinity of the moon? And these are the options that have been given. Coincidentally, yesterday was also the day on which India became the fourth ever country to soft land on the moon. With this, we have also become the first ever country to soft land on the South Pole or the dark side or the far side of the moon. And Lunar Orbiter 1, which was the first ever object or a spacecraft to orbit around the moon, had sent us a photograph of the Earth from the vicinity of the moon. And that was also the same date as yesterday, 23rd of August, but the year was of course 1966. Option A is correct. We will talk about this, the right commenters of this by the end of this class. The P2I batches that we have launched from 23rd of August. You still have time because not a lot has been lost for UPSC 2024. We have provided the orientation classes and make sure you take admissions as soon as possible because 31st of August is the last date when we are closing our batch. So any one of you who is interested in a batch for a foundation preparation for not only prelims but mains and interviews, you can be a part of this particular batch. Many coaching institutes will provide you just information regarding GS in your foundation batch. We are going to not only provide you GS but also CSAT. Essay is also included. Test series for both pre and mains, prelims and mains is also included. Study material is included. And even a campus program is included. Those of you who are going to qualify prelims 2024, you will be called to the StudyIQ campus for a 4-month rigorous preparation for your mains examination, in which you will be taught mains enrichment program related topics, which are excessively important for your mains examination. Other than this, you will also be provided interviews. At least 2 mocks have been promised. Many of you may also find this journey very arduous. So we are also going to provide you psychology upliftment sessions whenever you need it. A customized study plan will also be provided. All this is provided just for 70,000. But if you use the code PDLive, you will get it at 29,999. Batches are available in complete English, in complete Hindi, or a hybrid batch English. PDLive is also available for other courses. So please do use this code. Also, these batches will be evening. That means live classes will start from 6 p.m. onwards. Make sure you take admission as quick as possible. Moving on. Let's talk about the next question. I have already talked a lot about the first question, so let's move on. With respect to the moon, consider the following statements. A new moon. First of all, you have to imagine what a new moon is. Occurs when the far side of the moon has full sunlight and the side facing us is having its night. We all know that because the moon is tidally locked with the earth. From the earth's perspective, we can see only one side of the moon. And the side of the moon that we cannot see is the far side or the dark side of the moon, it does receive sunlight. That is why Chandrayaan has gone there, because it has solar panels, then only it can work, right? So for 1 lunar day, for 14 days of Earth, it will continuously receive sunlight in such a manner that it can go on with its work. And that is why the far side of the moon is very important from the perspective of your examination. Long ago, the moon had active volcanoes, but now they are all dormant. The first definitive discovery of water was made in 2008 by the Indian mission Chandrayaan-1. So how many of the statements given above is or are correct? To answer the first statement, we have to take the help of one particular video. And with the help of this particular video, you will be able to understand that the different regions of the moon, they receive sunlight at different times, and that is why they keep on changing their phases. As the Earth is revolving around the sun, the moon is also revolving. We are also rotating. With this synchronous orbit, with this synchronous locking, we can see only one side of the moon, and that is why the other side is known as dark side. So the lunar day begins with the dark side or the far side receiving the sunlight, but this side will be visible to us, as in this side doesn't receive sunlight, this side does. So it will be a new moon, because at night we cannot see the sunlit part. And when it rotates around 45 degrees, then from the night side we will be able to see that this part of the moon is receiving little sunlight. This is known as waxing crescent. A little part of the moon is receiving sunlight which is visible, then waxing crescent. When it is rotated 90 degrees, then the right side of the moon will receive sunlight. This is first quarter, and the moon will appear like this. Right side is lit from the perspective of the Earth. Of course, they are not in straight line. The tilt is there. Then when it further rotates 135 degrees, you can see that a little more part is visible because more part is getting sunlight. And this phase of the moon is known as waxing gibbous. Okay, waxing gibbous. As you can see, more region of the moon is visible to us. After that, it also again moves and rotates 180 degrees. Then this is full moon, because most of the region is now receiving sunlight. It is completely visible. So this becomes a full moon. After that, it rotates 270 degrees. Now the left part from the Earth's perspective will start receiving sunlight. This is waning gibbous. And waning gibbous looks like this. Most of that region is visible to us. Further, it rotates 270 degrees. And then what happens again? The left side from the Earth's perspective will be visible, and the left side will become last quarter. This is the last quarter. All right. And finally, it moves forward. And when it moves forward to 315 degrees, a very small part is visible, which is waning crescent. Waning crescent is again like this. In waxing crescent, this side was visible, waning that side, not fully. And then finally we have new moon, when this side of the moon is receiving sunlight, but remaining part is not. All right. So I hope you understood how we move with respect to the moon, how it orbits and rotates. Then a new moon occurs when the far side of the moon is sunlit. It is receiving sunlight, but it is not visible from Earth's perspective. And this is definitely correct. Long ago, the moon had active volcanoes, but now it does not. They have remained dormant. It is said that the moon is 1000 times calmer than the Earth. And we have ILSA as well as a payload on the lander, so that it can measure the seismicity around the landing site. Then only we can talk about further lunar explorations. Now the first definitive discovery of water was made. Definitive as in we were able to ensure that the hydroxyl ions that were there is because of the presence of water. So it was made by the Indian mission Chandrayaan-1. That is definitely correct. It said that, I will talk about it later. 1 and 2 and 3. First is correct, second is correct, third is also correct. All three will be the correct answer. Now, as we know that we have landed on the moon, India is on the moon now, and the payload, the Pragyan rover has come out, and this is the picture. It has come out from the lander. This picture is showing us how it comes out. And now it is working. It is conducting in situ experiments with two payloads. It has two payloads to understand what chemicals are present on the lunar surface and what elements are present in lunar soil and rocks. The moon is actually rotating at the same rate as it revolves around the sun. That is why one region is hidden, completely hidden. I have already told you all this with the help of the video, so let's move forward. But if we talk about the structure of the moon, the structure is just like the earth, but there are certain differences. It has core, mantle and crust. Three layers are there: core, mantle and crust. And you can see how it is when you see it like this. So core, then mantle, then crust. If we talk about the core, the radius core is proportionally smaller than the core of the other terrestrial bodies. Solid, it is iron rich and it is just 240 kilometers in radius. Then around that we have a iron shell, liquid iron shell. So inner core, like the earth, is solid. Then we have liquid outer core. We can say it's an iron shell, and a partially molten layer with a thickness of 150 kilometers surrounds the iron core. Okay, so it is almost like the earth, but of course there are going to be elemental differences. Then the mantle, it extends from the top of partially molten layer to the bottom of the moon's crust. It consists of olivine, pyroxene. It is made up of magnesium, iron, silicon and oxygen atoms. Then the crust has a thickness of about 70 kilometers on the visible side of the moon. When it comes to the far side of the moon, it is 150 kilometers. It consists of oxygen, silicon, magnesium, iron, calcium and aluminium. Why am I telling you all this? Because our Pragyan is conducting experiments over there. If India is able to understand what kind of elements are present over there, we can look forward towards mining as well, because as we are running short on the elements that are present on the earth, we are also looking for our future plans. So sustainable space exploration is also on our cards. Small amount of titanium, uranium, thorium. It is important for India to ensure that nuclear materials are available with us. Of course, there has to be a lot of technological advancement so that we can bring all these important nuclear, we can say, elements which can be helping us in nuclear civil power generation to India. But still, it's a small step, but a giant step for the entire humankind. Long ago, the moon had active volcanoes, but now they are dormant. 12 moon walkers are very important. 12 people have walked on the moon. So the first was, of course, Neil Armstrong along with Edwin Buzz Aldrin on Apollo 11. The last includes also Harrison H. Smith from Apollo 17 and Eugene Cernan from Apollo 17 as well. Okay, let's move forward. The first definitive discovery of water was made in the year 2008 with the help of Chandrayaan 1. When it detected hydroxyl molecules, it was spread across the lunar surface. Also, it said that there is a concentration of hydroxyl ions on the poles. Not only the entire moon has water, as in hydroxyl ions, but the moon poles also have a lot of concentration. So, Lunar Prospectors L-Cross and Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, they also saw that there is high concentration of ice water in the permanently shadowed regions of the lunar poles. Now, consider the following statements. The motto Satyamev Jayate is adopted in the national emblem is from Chandogya Upanishad. F.O. Oetel is credited with the discovery of the lion capital of Asoka, where it was found buried near the Dhamek Stupa. The lion capital shows a bull, a lion, a horse and an antelope. So, how many statements given above is or are correct? Why have I asked you this question? Because we know that the Pragyan rover has come out, and while it moves around, it shows its roving capabilities on the lunar regolith. It will also leave emblem, the Indian emblem, and the tag of ISRO. That is why it is important for us to know. Just imagine, did King Ashok ever think that? Of course, he wouldn't have. But this is the power of being an emperor, a Chakravartin, that his emblem, his capital, lion capital, now is also and will always be imprinted on the moon. So this is something is very amusing to me. I hope you are also thinking the same. So the motto of Satyamev Jayate is actually adopted from Mundak Upanishad and not Chandogya Upanishad. Okay, remember, Mundak. So first statement is incorrect. The truth shall triumph. And F.O. Ortel, he was a German engineer but a naturalized British citizen. He is actually credited with discovering the lion capital of Ashoka when it was found buried near the Dhamek Stupa. So first is incorrect, second is definitely correct. The lion capital doesn't have an antelope. So third is incorrect. First is correct, first is incorrect, second is correct, third is incorrect. Only one is correct, right? One only will be the correct answer. I have already told you the reason. So the profile, actually it is 4 lines if you look at the line capital. But the profile that we can see on paper is like this. It has 3 lions mounted on the abacus. This is the abacus, and a dharma chakra is in the center. A bull on the right, a galloping horse on the left. This is horse, this is bull. Outlines of the dharma chakras on the extreme right and the left, it was adopted as the state emblem. Of course, along with the when Indian constitution came into effect, and the bell-shaped lotus which was there, it was omitted. This is the bell-shaped lotus which was omitted. Okay, so why did we adopt this particular lion capital? Because of the significance of King Ashoka. At his period, at the reign time of Ashoka, India emerged as a country which not only had national fervor, but also international exchanges took place a lot. And these 4 lions were very important when it comes to the symbolism. So these 4 lions, they showed power, courage, pride, and confidence. Of course, they emitted or manifested the power of the universal emperor or the Chakravarti. And the victory of Dharma is, of course, with the help of this particular Dharma Chakra. And this was adopted so that India can show itself to provide equality and social justice in all spheres of life. And I have said that the truth shall triumph. It doesn't mean that, it means truth alone triumphs. Okay, truth alone triumphs. So keep this in mind. What I said was should be omitted. Devanagari script below the profile of the lion capital is a part of the state emblem. Okay, it is written in Devanagari script, of course. Then the design of India's national emblem is adopted from this. And who has discovered it? It was discovered by German-born engineer Frederick Oscar Oetel, who was a naturalized British citizen. In 1904-1905, an archaeological site was sighted, and here only he could discover this emblem. Okay. With respect to the Astra missile, which of the statement is not correct? It is to have a range of up to 100 kilometers. Now UPSC will confuse you by putting certain words here and there, just to check you if you were mindful or not. Because when you will become a district magistrate or an IPS officer or a revenue officer or whatever you want to become with the help of UPSC, what they will try to see? Are you capable enough of understanding policies, and are you making mindful choices or not? When you are mentioning orders, are you aware of certain words or not? So UPSC is going to check that. It is to have a range of up to 100 kilometers. It is a beyond visual range missile. It is an air-to-air missile, and it is indigenously developed by DRDO. Astra missile is indigenously developed with the help of DRDO. This is very true. Along with, of course, with the help of the DRDO laboratories. And it's an air-to-air missile. That means with the help of aircrafts, it can be launched from air to air. That means it can destroy fighter aircrafts. It is a beyond visual range missile. Doesn't come in the general line of sight. Okay, so B is also correct. So what about this? Here I have played with a word. It is to have a range of over, not up to. So UPSC is going to do that. For sure it is going to do that, just to test you, just to confuse you, just to make you nervous. So option A will be not correct. Let's move forward. Light Combat Aircraft Tejas has successfully fired the Astra Indigenous Beyond Visual Range BVR. Also, it could be asked in your preliminary examination, what does BVR stand for? So it's Beyond Visual Range air-to-air missile of the coast of Goa at an altitude of about 20,000 feet. So just remember the altitude as well. Astra is a state-of-the-art BVR air-to-air missile. It engages and destroys highly maneuvering supersonic aerial targets. With the help of Defense Research and Development Laboratory Research Center Imarat and other laboratories of DRDO, it was developed, and the range is believed to have a range of over 100 kilometers. This is what I was talking about. All right. So BVR, we mentioned it over here, right? BVR here. This is the general line of sight. Okay, general line of sight. When it operates even beyond the general line of sight, it becomes beyond visual range. Moving on. With respect to BRICS, consider the following statements. BRICS partners operate on the basis of the UN Charter. From the very beginning, BRICS has remained concentrated upon only the economic issues. Russia hosted the first BRICS summit in 2009 at Yekaterinburg. Why is it written BRIC? Because South Africa joined only in the year 2010. Okay, so all these three, let's see how many of the statements given above is or are not correct. BRICS, BRIC, BRIC is an acronym that was propounded in the year 2001 by Jim O'Neill. And Jim O'Neill back then said that there are going to be certain important economies that will weigh very heavily by 2050, in which he said that it will be Brazil, Russia, India and China. And he said that because of the low labor cost, demographic dividend, natural elements that are present which have not been explored, all these are contributing in nature to these emerging economies. He also said that they will also surpass the G7 countries. So this was made, we can say this idea was brought into the existence with the help of Jim O'Neill, who was a British economist from Goldman Sachs. And yes, he was correct. This idea was institutionalized with the help of Vladimir Putin. He played a huge role when it comes to giving birth to BRICS. Earlier, it was only Brazil, Russia, India and China. Later on, when South Africa joined, more heft and weight was given to this idea. But Jim O'Neill never said that it will become a trade bloc of its own. It's not a trade bloc, right? Let's talk about it. BRICS partners operate on the basis of UN Charter. This is definitely correct. From the very beginning, BRICS did not only remain focused on economic issues but conflict issues as well. So first is correct, second is not correct. Russia hosted the first summit at Yekaterinburg. This is definitely correct in 2009. First, correct. Second, incorrect. Third, correct. How many are not correct? One only will be the correct answer. Prime Minister Modi has said that we welcome the expansion of BRICS. And I am going to cover today the expansion of BRICS. Do see it. It's very important from the perspective of your examination on StudyIQ IS English. He also made 5 suggestions after he said that if we are expanding, we should also expand our area of operation. He said that a BRICS space exploration consortium should be developed, and every country of BRICS, when it will add more countries, it will become BRICS Plus or a new acronym will be there. We do not know as of yet, but every country of BRICS should help each and every country move forward towards space exploration, and rightly so. We were denied technology from many important countries who were spacefaring nations. But when we have shown that we can have our own technology demonstration in the form of soft landing, now these countries will come to India and ask for technology help. This is how we are calling it. It is the time of India. It is the era of India. Then portal like Diksha should be there to remove language barrier. Diksha, which was launched in 2017, is for students, teachers and parents, in which it is accessible. This portal, the materials on it is accessible in 18 languages along with English. Okay, so we have to understand that when language barrier gets removed, we are able to communicate at a better scale. So that is why this. setting up a tool amongst BRICS members for better skill mapping, because these countries have a lot of demography, but we have to also explore ways in which we can upskill our demography so that these people can get employment and hence economic upliftment. We know that these 5 countries are home to the big cats, and India, with the help of South Africa, could relocate cheetahs. Although right now the Project Cheetah is not faring very well, but it was taken into consideration that Project Cheetah might be successful with 50% population, even if the cheetahs survive in a rate of 50%. So these countries should work on conserving biodiversity as well and work in the field of traditional medicines. In Gandhinagar, when WHO opened its first ever center for traditional medicine, India has been rightly so the country to call for these important initiatives. Moving on, BRICS, I have already told you: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. South Africa is the current chair of BRICS. Of course, it is happening in Johannesburg, we know that. Then Jim O'Neill predicted that these 4 countries, he talked about BRIC, not South Africa back then. So when he said that these certain countries are going to be very hefty when it comes to the economics, you see, Goldman Sachs said recently that China and India will be one of the top 3 economies by the year 2075. It may become the second largest economy just after China by the year 2075. It will surpass the USA. So he was right in certain matters. On September 20, 2006, first ever BRICS ministerial meeting was held. Russia hosted the first BRICS summit on June 16, 2009 at Yekaterinburg. Back after that, in 2010, South Africa joined. Between this range, 2009 to 2014, conflicts were addressed, IMF reforms, struggle against illicit drug trafficking, all these were taken care of. And the need, use and development of technologies, communication technologies, this was also discussed. BRICS countries also sought to create favorable conditions for barrier-free trade, which hasn't happened as of yet. Now, on the basis of UN Charter only, BRICS partners operate. Certain important principles that it entails include solidarity, openness. Solidarity means standing together. Openness, don't be secretive. Then pragmatism, neutrality and non-block nature. These all are the very important principles of BRICS. With respect to the government e-marketplace or GEM or GEM, consider the following statements. It was launched in 2015. The procurement of goods and services by ministries and central public sector enterprise is mandatory. The key word here is mandatory. It's not voluntary but mandatory for goods and services available on GEM. Which of the statements given above is or are correct, right? It was launched in the year 2016, not 15. And the procurement is mandatory for ministries and for both goods and services by ministries and CPSEs. Okay. So first is incorrect, second is correct, 2 only will be the correct answer. GEM has crossed rupees 1 lakh crore in GMV, gross merchandise value, and this is one of our feat that we have achieved. So it's a one-stop national public procurement portal, not only for goods but also services. It is required by various state and central government, central and state governments, department, organization, PSUs, and the procurement should be mandatory. This is what a step is in the right direction. The nodal Ministry of Commerce, and the nodal ministry of this is the Ministry of Commerce, and it was launched in the year 2016. In the spring of 1932, she learned that Stanley Jackson would attend the convocation ceremony at Calcutta University. Explaining her motivations in her memoir, she states quite simply that it would be a great occasion to register protest against the empire. So the above statement is related to Beena Das, Preeti Lata, Kalpana Datta or Nanibala Devi. The correct answer to this question, if you have read modern history, if you have read it properly, you can answer this very well. The correct answer will be Beena Das. When she learned that the governor of Bengal, Stanley Jackson, is coming at the convocation, she was very, she was a very fierce child. At just the age of 21, she made sure that she is registering her protest against the empire by firing shots directly at the governor of Bengal. Of course, he survived, but she was imprisoned, and that was a very rigorous imprisonment. She also took part in 1942 in the Quit India movement. After that, again, she was, imprisoned. So today is the birth anniversary of Beena Das. E. Option A will be the correct answer. She was an Indian revolutionary and nationalist from West Bengal, and her parents were so open that from the very beginning, it was very uncommon in the 1900s. So from the very beginning, they gave their daughter the freedom to study, to pursue her own choices, and it was something of a marvel that Beena Das became too. So Das was a member of the Chhatri Sangha, which was a semi-revolutionary organization for women in Kolkata. On 6 February 1932, she attempted to assassinate Bengal Governor Stanley Jackson in the Convocation Hall in the University of Calcutta. The revolver was supplied by another freedom fighter who was Kamla Das Gupta. She fired 5 shots but failed and was sentenced to 9 years of rigorous imprisonment. In 1939, early 1939, she was released and she joined the Congress Party. In 1942, she participated in the QIM, and later on from 1942 to 1945, she was again imprisoned. From 1946 to 47, she was a member of the Bengal Provincial Legislative Assembly, and from 1947 to 1951, she was a part of the West Bengal Legislative Assembly. Another very important iconic freedom fighter was Shivaram Hari Rajguru. Today is his birth anniversary as well. He got very fascinated by the revolutionary ideas of Bal Gangadhar Tilak ji, and he joined the Hindustan Socialist Republic Army. Also, he was born in Maharashtra. On March 23rd, 1931, he was hanged along with revolutionary Bhagat Singh and Sukhdev Thapar. Alright, let's move forward. The Nyay Bandhu app has been developed to give into effect which of the following articles of the Indian Constitution? 44, 39A, 43A, 51. This is Nyay Bandhu, which is related to legal aid to the marginalized communities. Our directive principle of state policy, through its article 39A, has promised free legal aid to the poor. So the correct answer will be option B. This is how UPSC can ask us question. It will not directly ask you that free legal aid is related to what. It may choose another path. It may take the initiative that is in the news, and what is it related to? Is it a part of the constitution in some way? It is going to entangle you through this only. So be careful. B is the correct answer. Government will launch the Telelaw 2.0 tomorrow. It will integrate Telelaw and the Nyay Bandhu app to ensure access to justice. And this is in accordance with the Section 12 of the Legal Service Authority Act of 1987, in which it says that applicants who are marginalized or disadvantaged, such as people from ST background, SC, victims of trafficking or begging, women or children, PWDs and other eligible categories, they will be able to apply through the Nyay Justice app, Nyay Bandhu app, sorry. Then there are these important articles that I talked about. Article 39A specifically talks about equal justice and free legal aid. Alright, moving forward, this is a practice question for you to practice. This day commemorates the passage of the 19th Amendment to the US Constitution, which granted the women right to vote. Which day? 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th. Answer it correctly in the comment segment. I will take up your names. Let me take up the names of those students who have answered the last question correctly. And many of you have answered it correctly. Let me take your names first. Yes. So option A was correct. Simran has answered it correctly. MJ has answered it correctly. Siddharth has answered it correctly. Shambhav, Mandeep, Padmashri, Chinaya, Riya, Komal, Pragati, Mansi, Manas or Manas, Shubham, Pooja, Malinath. Thank you, Gaurangi. Ritu, Ankush, Nikhil, also Priyadarshan, Utkal, Yashen, Saurabh, Ram Gopal, Abhishek, Suresh, Dilshad, Ananya. Also Sukhbir, Shrikant, Shivansh, Mukul, Bird Song Music Company, Yashwant, sorry. Then Hardeep, Genius, yes, you are right. That was the range that I talked about. Mindbusters, Ankur, Moderator, Shubham. Please write your names if you have really, generic usernames. Do try to write your name along with the answer. Thank you so much for answering the last question. Answer this question as well.
StudyIQ IAS. अब तैयारी हुई अफोर्डेबल।